hey, look, I'm a fucking superhero and it fucking blows, lady. Like, just don't even do this. I just don't know why people think this works. It never works.
Don't do the thing. It's the same thing as like when parents are trying to tell their kids not to like don't have sex and don't drink alcohol. No. Well, the kid knows what the fuck you do during the day, bitch. Like,
it's the thing when the dude shows up in church and talks to your youth group and like, listen, I used to do a lot of heroin and fuck a lot of bitches, but now, God, so I ain't down with that anymore. And all the kids are just like, well, I think I'm gonna fuck a few bitches and do a little heroin before I do this God thing, like you did. You turned out right.
And go.
You could not see this, viewer, but this. Cecilia did the I Dream of Jeannie head bob.
Aww.
Like it was Gretchen Wishes over
throwback.
There. I'm old. Used to watch Nick at Night, if anyone remembers Nick at Night. Yeah. Oh, maybe I should introduce. This is Comic Dissection. We're a comic book club where we look at comics through an intersectional leftist lens. Every 2 weeks, we alternate who gets to pick and what we are talking about. And this week was my pick. So,
and you are...
Reno V, thank you. Thank you, Cecilia Rose, other voice in the ether. Yeah, I'm getting excited. I had a lot of coffee just now, and it shows.
It's very good coffee, though.
It's very good coffee. Shout out to the Coffin House of Concord, the official coffee of Comic Dissection.
Yep. It is what we get the most often when we record.
It's definitely, yeah. Support your local small businesses. And since it is my choice, if you are not new, if you listen to more than one episode, it will probably surprise you not at all that we are going back to the DC universe, and even more specifically back to the Bat universe, because I gotta type. There's a thing, and I do the thing a lot, but I always try and throw a little twist in, do a little different. And this time we are discussing one of the year ones. For those that don't know, DC Comics kind of did a year one for... It started with just the Bat family. We did Batman, and then we did pretty much all the Batman family members. And then it spread out to like Wonder Woman year one, Superman year one. I think every hero's got there's probably a Plastic Man year one out there at this juncture. But
whose favorite superhero is Plastic Man? Sound off in the comments, because I need someone to own up to like.
If you stand for the Plastic Man, come at us, bro.
I need
not
someone.
Really. I mean, I'm not trying to be confrontational. Explain to us the appeal of Plastic Man.
I'll be confrontational. What the fuck, man?
Here's the thing. I haven't read Plastic Man. It could very much be kind of a Deadpool type. When written well, he's a very funny guy. Okay. Like, I don't... Because I do know... what little I know about him is he was a criminal who became a hero, who became a member of the Justice League of America. Mm-hmm. Much like Deadpool was a villain who became a hero, who eventually ended up in like every group at one point or another. Like when he was the flavor of the month, he did a stint in the X-Men, he did a stint in the Avengers, he formed his own group at some point.
The only thing I really know about Deadpool, outside of Ryan Reynolds being born to play him, is that he's a Hufflepuff. That is the extent of my Deadpool knowledge.
Yeah. And he's got a weird bromance with Spider-Man.
Yeah?
You know that.
I do know that because I ship that. Yeah. I like that a lot, actually. I ship it.
I don't know. I might ship it more if I didn't grow up on him and Mary Jane. Like
we will discuss shipping later when we get around to it.
Yeah.
I don't. It's a crack ship. Like, it's not something I ship because I think that they're like true love, but it's something I ship because I find it humorous. It is a complete crack ship. It's not a. Like, I ship Hao Shang and Shi Lian because, to me, they are soulmates. They complete each other.
This one is more like I like to watch them together.
Yeah.
And that I can, I agree with. Like, they're very funny together. They're great. I do always feel bad for Spider-Man in those, though, because, like, he doesn't ever get to win. In those like Deadpool is so snarky and like he's just meaner and willing to play dirtier. Yeah. And Spider-Man's much more dad jokes and like like
Banana Town Crazy Pants.
Yeah, and kind of I'm put upon. Why am I always so put upon? And you're just not going to win with Deadpool with that. Like I prefer Deadpool with an equal opponent. Like when Deadpool's with Wolverine. Shout out to the Deadpool Wolverine movie that's coming out soon. Yeah. That's a more like fair fight to me. Like that's.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. No, I do get what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm like, doesn't everyone give Spider-Man a hard enough time, Deadpool, without you piling on too?
I guess because I don't know as much about the handful of fanfics I have read where Deadpool and Spider-Man are together. Yeah. It's not like that. Like they're not when they're being shipped romantically. It's not.
That's something I would like to cover because I only know about it from like panels that I've seen on the internet. So I've actually not read a complete story. But in every panel I see, it's always them quipping back and forth, Deadpool getting the better and Spider-Man sighing and putting his head down. I have never seen it go any other way.
That's fair.
Once again, if you have any recommendations for what I should be reading Deadpool, let me know. Deadpool, Spider-Man. I would like to know what comics with them together I should jump into. But that is for another week. This week, as I was saying before we went way off, Year One. And we are discussing Batgirl Year One. The team of Scott Betty or Beatty? Beatty. Beatty, I'm going to guess. Scott Beatty and Chuck Dixon. Now, Chuck Dixon is actually the person who did most of the Year Ones. He did Nightwing Year One, Robin Year One, and Batgirl Year One. He's also written for G.I. Joe and Punisher, but don't hold that against him. One of his most famous work is, of course, Joker, Last Laugh. Scott Beatty, also a writer who also wrote G.I. Joe and Transformers. And interestingly enough, also wrote for the cartoon for G.I. Joe and Transformers.
Aww.
But the thing about Scott Beatty, and the thing that makes me love him and think the world of him, is back when magazines still existed. He started one of my favorite.
Really
magazines.
Aging ourselves here.
Yes, I know, I can't help it. But he started one of the best magazines of all time, Toy Fair, that I loved dearly. And from Toy Fair, Cecilia, this may interest you. That is where Robot Chicken was birthed. Yeah. So every issue of Toy Fair, they would do little comic panels with toys set up and saying like snarky, funny little one-liners to each other. And
Seth Green,
guess who was all up in that shit? Seth Green. He went on to went on to create Robot Chicken, which was a direct, not a ripoff because they were stop motion as opposed to just comic panels of toys, but it was the same thing. And he, if
there are any Gen Zs or Gen Alphas listening to this, we are ancient and we will not be accepting your criticism. Thank you.
We will not be taking questions. Look it up though. If you don't know Robot Chicken, look it up and thank us later. Yeah. But people from Toy Fair and Wizard magazine, which was the thing that birthed Toy Fair, all had their hands in the Robot Chicken universe. So we would not have Robot Chicken without Toy Fair. We would not have Toy Fair without Scott Beatty. Mwah. Chef's kiss. To round us out, we got Marcus Martin as our penciler, Alvaro Lopez as our inker, and Javier Rodriguez as our colorist. Special shout out to Javier. The coloring in this is very, it's very, man, it's very pride flag. It's very, they do a lot of pastels and like, there is no skyline that is less than 3 colors in this comic. And I dig it. Like that's I actually talked about it when Gorship guest hosted and we were doing a Joker comic because the ink and the coloring in that was really amazing too. I like the coloring in this as well. It's sort of, the art style sort of gives me like Batman the Animated Series vibes, but like the later seasons.
Yeah.
When they kind of simplified it. Because they were sending it overseas and they didn't want to pay money. Once again, capitalism. Thank you so much. Yeah. But yeah, Batgirl Year One came out in 2003. We have our cast, we have our group, and it is a 9-issue miniseries that came out just to talk about Batgirl and how she got her start.
I was really excited to talk to get to read Batgirl. I was interested in this.
Yeah, and I once again, as always, the story, it's probably broken record by this point, but it's a thing that I read a long time ago and liked and wanted to read it again for the podcast to see how it held up and also to get Cecilia's take on it. And yeah, that's what we're going to do now.
Yes.
We open up on issue 1, and we are at a costume ball. You get that instantly.
This comic, the knock I do have is that it does that thing I hate where it jumps back and forth in time. Mm-hmm. Pick a fucking time.
As I was reading it, I noticed that, and I thought to myself, man, I just keep doing this. It's not intentionally, but I just keep doing this.
Look. I hate this shit.
I
hate it so much.
I swear to God. It just happens.
Pick a time and just stay in it. Why do we have to go back and forth? I get so confused. I hate it. I hate it so much. Okay.
Yeah, this one does it as a
lot.
I realized it as I was reading it. I was like, oh, well, that's going to be a hard hurdle for Cecilia to overcome and enjoy. But yes, we open at a costume ball. And we are introduced to our antagonist, fellow who goes by the name of Killer Moth, who has an entire gang in purple Armani suits and like moth glasses. Because, again, if you're going to do your thing, you have to dress your boys and girls in their outfits.
Gimmicks. They're a dime a dozen.
It's true. And Batgirl, very interestingly, right off the bat, starts talking about the Oracle. Which, if you know Batgirl's lineage, she will later become a character called the Oracle.
I mentioned this later. One, she does wax poetically about Cassandra from the Iliad. Is that the one? Or
yes.
No? Yeah. And, Achilles
the Oracle
and all that
Cassandra
stuff.
wore a mask to hide her face. She knows what the future held, and nobody believed her.
Yeah, she was cursed.
They thought she was a joke.
She was cursed by one of the gods. Apollo? Because I think Apollo is the god of myths or fortunes or whatever.
I think he is the god of oracles. I think that's one of his.
He was cursed by.
It's him or Athena. They have a lot of overlap.
She was cursed by Apollo, so that she could tell the future, and she's 100% accurate, but no one would ever listen to her. But also, speaking of Batgirl being the Oracle. Interestingly enough, the corner of TikTok that I am on, and fuck you, U.S. government, for trying to ban TikTok again.
You can't stop us!
The corner of TikTok that I am on, though, one of the creators I like a lot is called Red Panda, and he just mentioned the other day, they were talking about the Killing Joke.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how after the Killing Joke, Barbara becomes the Oracle.
Right. To those who don't know, the Killing Joke is the quote-unquote creation of Oracle, where Barbara gets shot by Joker, uses the loss of her legs for a while, and she is in a wheelchair and uses her computer to be like the informant to all the superheroes.
Yeah. But that was not originally the plan. And he was kind of knocking, I think, Alan Moore a little bit for how
he's knockable.
He's very knockable. Apparently, it's a thing that happens.
In many ways, a genius. In many ways, very knockable.
Yeah, but no, he was just knocking, and it's really funny because they do so much Oracle foreshadowing in this for it to be something. I mention it every time. They do a lot of Oracle foreshadowing for it to be something that was added on later.
Well, this is
sort of retcon.
This is a retcon because this came out in 2003, and by then Killing Joke had already happened. So yeah, it is kind of a it's doing the Game of Thrones prequel after you've already done Game of Thrones kind of thing. But yeah, she's standing over her unconscious father and a Bruce Wayne dressed as what's the fucking clown from the super sad story, Pincello?
I don't know what this is.
Okay, there's a story where and I'm butchering the hell out of it. A man goes into a shrink's office and he's like, "Oh, I'm horribly depressed, and I just nothing makes me happy, and I don't know what I'm gonna do." And the shrink is like, "Hey, don't worry, Pocello, the clown, who is the funniest man on earth, is in town tonight. You go to a show, you watch it, you'll come out and you'll feel better. And he says, but sir, I'm Pocello. Yeah, it's like,
oh wow.
Yeah, it's it's famous like Italian nihilist story. Anyway, Bruce Wayne is dressed kind of like that clown from that famous story, and from your typical opera clown with the big frilly neck thing, looking ridiculous. And like I say, Batgirl's telling the story of the Oracle, and she's talking about how no one believed her, and then when all the things came to be, they blamed her. Mm-hmm. Which, ain't that just the way?
Isn't that just the life of a woman?
And continue to not heed her warnings. And we get a flashback to Gordon not heeding his daughter because she wants to be a cop. And Gordon, who, God bless him, I get it. Being a cop pretty much ruined his life, so he obviously does not want his daughter to do the thing that he's doing that is ruining his life. But man, he shoots her down in just about the most condescending way.
Look, both Gordon and the FBI dude later talk about a height requirement, and just fuck men.
I wonder if that's true.
Fuck men. I don't care if it's true.
I mean, I guess in Gotham City it's true, but I wonder if it's true as a general rule. I'm very curious.
It was very, as someone who is short, fuck you both. I hate you both. Like,
well, this entire comic, and one of the reasons one of the things I thought you would enjoy about it, Cecilia, is Barbara Gordon defying odds over and over again.
Oh no! Look here.
Batman says she can't. Gordon says she can't. Her fucking
I do wish
librarian friend says she can't. Like everyone says she can't, and she just keeps saying "fuck you." I'm gonna do it anyway.
I do wish that she would shoot for something besides a cop. Like that was my ACAB, because that was my only note here. Is that I do like Barbara, and I actually make a note towards the end about the things I like about her. But this particular part where they talk about her being too short, fuck all y'all. Yeah. Fuck y'all for making there be a height requirement in the first place.
Yeah. And the cop thing, like, in Lonely City, she ends up being commissioner. But, like, in most continuities, the cop thing is just a passing fad. It's I idolize my father. He's a cop, so I want to be a cop. But then later, she moves on to other things. She's able to see that as much as she loves her father, and as much good as he did for the city, comparatively to, let's say Batman, for instance, there's other ways to use your talents to better serve the city. Yeah. And I think one of the things I like about her character is how she outgrows, and I don't mean this in a bad way, because I think, like, she needed her time with Gordon and she needed her time with Batman, but I think she outgrows both of them and their views of how to help Gotham. Yes. And kind of evolves into her own person, which I totally am here for. And I also like that in this version of events, she doesn't dress up as Batman because she idolizes Batman. She dresses up as Batman because her dad won't let her be a cop and she wants to poke him. Yeah. It's a totally different reasoning.
As someone with daughters, it is also exhausting. But I do also, as a person who likes to needle authority, appreciate this about Barbara.
Yeah, I would like to hope that that's one of the things our podcast is out here doing.
Right?
Yeah. So we cut back to the ball, and she's holding her own. She's beating up Killer Moth. She's beating up Moth goons. She's having a good time, whooping that booty. And we see in the very last scene, Bruce Wayne running off, like the cowardly playboy that he is. And then we cut to her at her day job, which is a librarian, go figure. And as a librarian, her office is very much like the clock tower that she will later take on as Oracle. So yes, once again, another homage. She's up in like a very high room with windows looking out onto all the knowledge.
Also, I would like to be a librarian, so I was very jealous of this
it seems like a good job. She's got her police academy application, which has been denied. She's got the Gotham Gazette, which shows sightings of the Batman. And, that kind of stuff. In comes one of her coworkers named Donald. And
Donald gave me the creeps.
Donald's fine. Like, I don't know. He's not he doesn't have enough confidence to give me the creeps. He comes in and he's trying to ask her out, but instead he's asking her where some book is located. And she's like, you know, if you want to ask me out, then ask me out. And he's like, and he runs out. Shy little Arnold. I don't know. Not a guy I'm particularly worried about, but if it gives Cecilia creep vibes, I'll keep an eye on him.
Yep.
So we cut to Master Parsons. She's at some karate training academy or whatever. And this guy...
I really dislike most of the men in this.
It's unfortunate. There's a bad crop that she seems to be running into. And this is one of them. This is her trainer. And he's just talking shit. Like, come at me, bro. Come at me. And she's like, look, I'm a little afraid. What she's afraid of is that she'll hurt him or embarrass him. But he takes this the wrong way. And he's like, she doesn't have the killer instinct, blah, 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 blah. And she takes his ass down.
This is actually one of my favorite things about Barbara. Yeah. She lets people underestimate her.
Yeah.
And then she uses it against them. And as you fucking should, Queen.
Everyone should. Yeah. Let them underestimate you till it's too late. And that is Barbara all over. So she can't become a cop. So she's like, all right, fuck it. I'll go over their heads. I'm going to be FBI. Unfortunately, runs into the exact same problem.
I hate men.
She is not reaching the height requirements, which apparently everyone has. I don't know. That's weird to me. I mean, maybe true. Again, I do not know enough. If you know, shout out in the comments. Is there a height requirement for everything that lets you carry a gun? Like army, military,
you mean
police,
that you never
FBI?
need a short person that blend into a crowd?
Or to crawl through a sewer?
An airway duct? Like, you never need someone small to do shit?
It does seem weird to me. So, Batgirl is kind of starting to lose control of the situation because...
we've hopped back into...
Yes, we're back to the fight at the policeman's ball. And she is starting to lose a bit of control. Killer Moth has this very weird gun. It shoots like rainbow goo.
I never knew what it was.
Sometimes it shoots rainbow goo. Sometimes it shoots explosives. Like it's a gun with a lot of skills. So we cut back to the past, and she's trying to figure out. All right, well, what else is there? Oh, I'll be a fucking superhero. She notices that there's a.
She writes a note.
Yeah, the JSA, which is the Justice Society of America. It's another organization like the Justice League of America.
We don't have enough of those.
About just DC Universe, there's really just... Well, I guess you'd count Teen Titans, so maybe 3. There's a lot... Like Marvel's got a beat as far as clubs go. They got a lot of groups. I'd say just the 3 for... But she decides she's going to write a note and place it right on the center of the Justice Society's table to ask for Black Canary to mentor her. Because she basically straight up says, she's like, look, I'm not... My heroes aren't fucking, like, you know, Wildcat and Batman and Dr.
Again,
Fate.
She picks the chick.
My hero is Black Canary. Right. Like, I want a female because she has ran into all these roadblocks because she is a female. Mm-hmm. So she wants a female to show her how to get by these roadblocks.
Yep.
Which makes absolutely perfect sense.
I like it.
She breaks into Commissioner Gordon's office, and apparently they've got like a... Gordon has been trusted with an access code to get into Justice Society headquarters. You know, in case he, I guess, has an emergency and needs their help. It's a big sign, and it's because Batman trusts Gordon that the Justice Society has extended this kindness to him.
Yep.
But his daughter, his little mischievous daughter, gets a hold of them codes. And when she slips out, she runs into Officer Bard, who... This is the guy who sets off my creep meter, to be perfectly frank. Officer Bard is kind of hitting on her, and she kind of hits back, but seemingly just to make sure he doesn't mention that she was in her dad's office, because he catches her coming out of Gordon's office.
I actually think, I mentioned this later, but this is one of the ways that I think Barbara uses people's expectations against them.
Okay.
Because she flirts with everyone.
Yeah.
She flirts with the creepy Donald. She flirts with this detective
Bard.
dude.
Yeah.
She flirts with any of the dudes who flirt with her.
Yeah.
But it's not... I don't think it's because she has a genuine interest in most of them.
Yeah. I think she grows one for Bard later.
Yes.
But right here, yeah, I agree.
But I think generally, and, you know, as a woman, it's easier and it can work more in your advantage to flirt along with people.
Well, it's also it also would feel like a defense mechanism and also a power leveler. Yes. Which, you know. Because
in this instance, she uses it to kind of fluster Bard and get out sort of like under the radar a little bit.
Yeah.
But later when she's pissed off, she's mean to Donald and like...
Yeah. Like I felt a little bad for the nerdy dude that because he finally gets up the nerve to ask her out.
And she silences him with a look.
Just looks at him and he's gone again. And like, look, it wouldn't have ever worked out, but it also seems kind of cruel to be like, to talk someone into asking you, to working up the nerve to ask you out, knowing you're going to shoot them down. I feel like you could save everyone a lot of hassle and just be like, oh, look, just fucking nip that in the bud. There's no reason to add the extra step where you make them feel shitty.
I think she would have, she probably, if she wasn't already having a bad day.
Yeah, she might have just tried, just to see what it was like. Yeah. But yeah, I felt bad. His timing could not have been worse. We'll get to that later. She cuts back and she's talking to a hacker friend of hers, and because she's trying to make sure that when she does this thing, breaks into the Justice Society headquarters, her dad doesn't get blamed for it.
Yep.
Because obviously, you don't want your dad to get in trouble for you trying to get a promotion, trying to get a job offer, or I guess you'd say called an internship.
Yep.
You're trying to get an internship. You don't want your dad to get in trouble for it.
Well, and
also, it would lead directly back to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's a double whammy. And then she sees something on the news that the whole Justice Society is out fighting Solomon Grundy again. I like how again is written in bold black letters.
Solomon Grundy is back again.
Born on a Monday and died on a Saturday. So she gets in her ninja wear and goes running out. And her dad's like, where are you going? And she's like, all night, 24-hour dojo. It's the latest thing, Dad, bye.
Barbara covered her ass so hard 9 times out of 10. She's not a good on the fly liar though.
No, I think if her father didn't dote on her so, and if she wasn't such a father's daughter, I don't think she would get away with half the little one-liner and quips that she flies off the handle with. Runs by a crooked cop with 2 hookers.
Love the cop with the sex workers. Too real, my man.
Yeah,
Too real.
Yeah, exactly. I looked close. I was like, that's not Bard, is it? Okay, just checking. Just checking.
My opinion on Bard would be entirely different if that had been Bard.
Here's the thing. It's not, but not too different. Like, same strangely shaped head. So she gets to Justice Society headquarters. She enters the code. She disables the alarms, but not the cameras. She wants them to see her.
Obviously.
Yep. She falls in a little trap hole, but she gets out, drops the letter off, gets her ass back in record time, shuts down the whole block for like 30 seconds so that it reboots the computer. All records lost. The letter is there, but how did it get there? Watch the cameras. And hey, she'll get a promotion.
With any luck.
Yeah, with any luck. That's the plan. And I like the cliffhanger. This is the end of issue 1. She comes back, and the last thing it says is, sometimes I feel like the Barbara Dad sees is just a mask and costume over what I'm meant to be. A cocoon over what I'm becoming in spite of everything. Cocoon, Killer Moth, get it? Not so long ago, Gotham was overflowing with costumes. Some have retired. Some should have never started. And the last scene is of Killer Moth getting the upper hand and like smacking her with his gun. But things are probably going to be okay because issue 2, the cover is her holding Killer Moth's helmet.
And she looks very pleased with herself.
Right here, she definitely made me think of Kid Flash. Like, souvenir! She got her little Killer Moth helmet as a souvenir. Unfortunately, she is not answered by Black Canary. She is answered by Wildcat, who So basically, on the letter she left, and I should mention this, issue 2 opens with her at the meeting spot, because on the letter she said, hey, meet me on this rooftop at this time. Black Canary, please.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it is Wildcat who shows up. Now, brief little thing on Wildcat. He is much like Batman. He doesn't have any super powers. He is the quote-unquote best boxer in the world, and he just beats people up. He trained Catwoman, which, of course, cats train cats, I guess.
Did he know that she was a villain?
I don't know about that training, actually. I know he is her trainer, and that I think it even happened in Lonely City. She goes back and trains with him for a bit. Killer Croc trains with him, too, in Lonely City.
So is he just if you can afford me, I'm willing to help
he's
you?
a member of the Justice Society. He's on the up and up. I think it might have been one of the times where Catwoman was either trying to go straight or he didn't know who she was. But like I say, I don't actually have the comics where he trained her. It's just common DC lore that Wildcat is one of the people that taught her how to fight.
Cats got to stick together.
Yeah, you cats got to stick together. And he comes down to talk to her and basically gives her the "you're too short" speech again, but in different words. It's almost the same Commissioner Gordon approach. It's like, hey, look, I'm a fucking superhero and it fucking blows, lady. Like, just don't even do this. I just don't know why people think this works. It never works.
Don't do the thing. It's the same thing as like when parents are trying to tell their kids not to like don't have sex and don't drink alcohol. No. Well, the kid knows what the fuck you do during the day, bitch. Like,
it's the thing when the dude shows up in church and talks to your youth group and like, listen, I used to do a lot of heroin and fuck a lot of bitches, but now, God, so I ain't down with that anymore. And all the kids are just like, well, I think I'm gonna fuck a few bitches and do a little heroin before I do this God thing, like you did. Look, you turned out right.
Just following the path.
I could have my cake and eat it too.
Literally, everyone she's talked to, does the job they're telling her is too dangerous for her to do, and it's condescending as fuck.
It is condescending as fuck. But I do like when he asked Dr. Fate to back him up, and Dr. Fate does not. Dr. Fate's just like, no, there's some good and bad.
Yeah.
You know, like, Wildcat's like, oh, that is not what I need you to say. I just need you to nod and say okay. And then he says, so what do you see for old Green Eyes, Doc? He says, I see triumph and tragedy. And Wildcat's like, well, yeah, I could have told you that. That's like describing everyone's life ever.
Yeah, whether or not she becomes a superhero, that's going to happen.
Yeah,
there will be good and there will be bad. That's life. So at this point, I had just started to realize we were hopping back and forth, and I just started getting irritated. Yep. But I wrote down, so does she or does she not have heels? Because I feel like we've gone back and forth a bit with it, and I wouldn't even notice, but they made such a big deal about her height. Yeah. And then, like, now she doesn't have heels. Does she? Like, it's where it got broke off. But it took me a minute to realize we were going back and forth, and, like...
Gotcha. So now she's back in Batgirl costume, kicking the shit out of Killer Moth.
Because we popped again.
They treat me like I'm a stupid girl, some delusional little girl, and I believe it too. I see what they see as providence for a while. So now we're cutting to her after her final rejection. She's turned to everyone she could, and everyone told her no. And so now... So yeah, she's just sitting here. She's depressed. She's just watching TV, and her dad's worried about her. This is where her coworker tries to ask her out, gets the look, and runs away. And she's like, "Man, unless you're fucking Batman, you can't even get press in this town." Because all the covers of the newspapers are fucking Batman, 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 and man. And then her dad, who, again, he's like trying to cheer her up. He's like, "Hey, here's this millionaire's policeman's ball. I can get you in for free, yo. Do some dancing. Wear a fun costume. Like, live a little." It's the kind of thing like when your parent doesn't know anything about you, but they're trying to cheer you up. Like you're an introvert, and they're like, "Here's a party you can go to." Or you're an extrovert, and they get you a book. Like, it's... I mean, he means well. But even his advances of like, let me try and cheer you up. It's cop shit. It's just cop shit. The thing she can't do. So it's he doesn't know. He's rubbing her face in it.
Yeah, rubbing salt into the wound.
So she immediately, because she's a clever little minx, gets the idea of, I'm going to dress up like Batman.
Yeah,
and just make
I'm going to fuck with my dad.
Yeah. She goes to a costume shop. Yeah. She goes to a costume shop, and there's this weird costume that's sort of Batman-esque. And she's like, is that what the Batman's supposed to look like? And the guy's like, who knows? She's like, oh yeah, right, who knows? He's like, I got Superman, Wonder Woman, huh? And there's kids running around and like, one's got a Joker mask, one's got like a creature from the Black Lagoon mask, and one might be the demon, Etrigan. But yeah. It's always fun that like at Halloween people dress up like superheroes and supervillains just like they do in our world.
Yeah.
It's also weirder though because in this world they have body counts, and there's like a 7-year-old kid in a Joker mask, and I'm like, that's like a 7-year-old kid in our world
dressing as a cop,
like Charles. Oh, I was gonna say Charles Manson. You did so much better than me. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Nice. So she decides to make her own costume, and this is when she decides that, superheroes have got to be rich. Like, how do they do this? Like, do you make your own costume?
No, actually, is this it? Because this is where.
This is when she's saying one stitch at a time until the costume makes you into your future. Is
so I wrote down here, thank God all these superheroes know how to sew, because every time we get a making of the hero journey bullshit, they gotta make their own uniform.
Gotta have a costume.
Thank goodness Spider-Man knew how to sew. Thank goodness Barbara knows how to sew.
Absolutely. So we're finally almost caught up to the now. She's now at the masquerade ball.
Finally.
She is now at the $1 million masquerade. She says this is the last year that they would do it because of stuff like this. Apparently every year they've done it, a supervillain has shown up.
You'd think security would be a little bit better if that were the case.
Well, the idea is like, well, it's all cops. Who would be crazy enough to rob it? It's like, the population of Gotham is crazy. So any of them? Like
anybody with a gimmick and some time.
Yeah, exactly. You think fucking Scarecrow or Riddler's gonna look at that and be like, well, no, I can't do it. Too many cops. They're you mean a bigger audience? I'm there.
I'm back.
Yeah.
But also, you would think that they would be more. You would think that the villains would be more like, oh, all the cops are in this one spot over here. I'm gonna go do crime over there, on the other side.
Well, maybe the two that don't want an audience, but Arkham is just out of work theater majors, like every one of them. They all want. You got to have the audience.
God damn it, Reno.
You got to have the group. Yeah, like here in the real world, they become waitresses and waiters, but that's what happens to out of work actors. In Gotham, they become theme villains. They become the Condiment King. Who makes a cameo in this?
Oh my God.
We'll get there.
Yep.
Condiment King, who also shows up in Batman the Animated Series, also shows up for a brief cameo in Young Justice. Like, he's all that weirdo. He's even in the Lego Batman movie. That fucker is, because he's so goofy, he's lovable, you know? Mm-hmm. Well, much like Kite Man and Harley Quinn. They pick a really goofy dude and he just shows up. Yeah. They're like, Kite Man. Hell yeah. I like on page 40 when she's looking for her dad and she's seeing a bunch of cops that are already half in their booze, a bunch of millionaires that can't stand, including billionaire wastoids like Bruce Wayne. She calls him a wastoid. And
she's going to be so disappointed when she learns who Batman is.
I'm also going to go ahead and say, little Batgirl, thank God he's a wastoid. Let me tell you, a billionaire that's actually out to do good is going to do so much more damage than just a fucking wastoid playboy. Give me a wastoid playboy billionaire over an Elon Musk 10 times every day. Because, damn.
You raise a very valid point.
The worst thing he does is distract many pretty girls at many rich parties.
I was going to say, have consensual sex with people.
I don't even think he does that. I think he's gets them really drunk and then takes them home in hopes that they think they had sex with them so they can tell that story later. Because he has to get rid of them in time to go dress up like a bat and swing around the city.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also I think I really think the number of sexual partners Bruce has had, considering he's a very good-looking bazillionaire, is actually probably pretty small. Because again, he's just keeping up appearances.
Yeah.
The mission is above all.
This is fair. I will. Yeah, I take it back. I grant you. This is a very plausible line of thinking. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So then a tiger shows up. Delvin Davenport. And I will say this. When I read this a long time ago, I thought this was Detective Bard as well. And it was one of the reasons I got such creep vibes from him. He said, because he straight up says, that's some costume and you do so much for it. And I'm like, okay, you're like 37 and she's like 20 or something. Like, you're weirding me out.
I think that, well, that's not the same dude. So that
no. That's.
But also, I feel like they're like, the cop and Barbara are like close in age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Possible. Like,
they don't establish anything.
Yeah. I mean, I assume she's maybe freshman or sophomore in college year age, which would put her in the 1920.
Yeah.
But to be a cop, I mean, I don't know. What's the earliest you could be a cop? Like 28,
I think like 25.
30? Really?
I would have thought.
You're saying there's not a lot of training before you become a cop? Huh. You learn something every day. And this drunk idiot sees Killer Moth and his goons bust in and thinks it's more party favors for him to fuck around with.
Yeah, this is going to end real well.
Yeah, and although she straight up talks about it.
In his defense, I would also have a hard time taking the Moth seriously.
Oh, as you should. And she talks about that's the problem. Like, she can immediately see he's here to rob the place and he's unstable. But everyone else is really drunk. And so he looks like another dude in a costume. Possibly he's putting on a floor show. Like when you go to Tweetsy Railroad and your fucking train car gets robbed by, I believe the term is engines.
No, it's not anymore because we went not
thank God.
They do have a Robin,
a stagecoach robbery.
Yeah, there is a robbery thing, but it's just cops and robbers. It's not a...
Okay, thank God.
Yeah,
again, I have not been to Tweetsy Railroad in a while, and I'm glad
it's not Tweetsy. Where do we go?
Yeah. Well,
whichever one's the closer one, because we didn't go that far. I don't remember. It might have been Tweetsy. It was Tweetsy.
Yeah.
Was it?
Well, all I know is Tweetsy has a train that gets robbed.
Yeah,
and back when I was like 7 years old, it was Native Americans in full racist headgear and scalping axes.
This was just cops and robbers. This was just
and the fucking leftists say we haven't improved this country.
Look.
I can't see what anyone's complaining about now. They fixed Tweetsy Railroad. Everyone shut the fuck up. Cecilia, why are you rolling your eyes? I know exactly why you're rolling your eyes. Never mind. Batgirl discusses how it's kind of a problem that everyone's not taking him seriously, and he's just the kind of guy. She can read him instantly. He's going to get very insulted by not being taken seriously.
He broke into a party with drunk people.
Yeah, and it's going to escalate very quickly. He decides to take Bruce Wayne. The only person who actually is taking this seriously is Commissioner Gordon, who recognizes him. Because this is not Killer Moth's first time ever being a Killer Moth.
Yeah.
He has broken out of Blackgate. So Gordon tries to protect Bruce Wayne, who is... Killer Moth is here to kidnap for a ransom, to get money and get respect. And unfortunately, he takes some knockout gas and falls right down. The gas that was meant for Bruce Wayne. And the reason it's gas is he's our ransom guy. We don't want to kill him. Just knock him out. So then we have what I thought was a very cute little scene where Alfred's writing in his journal about what it's like to deal with...
I love Alfred. Yeah. He is
for what it's like to deal with Dick Grayson. Yeah. And what it's like to deal with fucking... And how this is near the beginning of Robin's career as well. And Alfred, much respect to him, is talking about how he hasn't quite come to grips with whether it's a good idea to have a boy along on your vengeance mission or not. He has, and I think you should have a few moral quandaries about that. I don't think that should just be a given.
It's a fair question because, it's a child.
Yeah.
You just inviting a child out to fight fucking Joker. This is a question of... it's a good moral question. Hey, Bats.
I cannot argue against it. So, Dick Grayson, a young Dick Grayson, is watching TV and eating a bowl of cereal. And, they're covering this gala and how it's been taken over by Killer Moth, and there's a hostage situation, and immediately drops his bowl of cereal and he's on the move.
Poor Alfred has to clean that up.
And Alfred's looking at the bowl thinking that exact thing. And he also looks at the news, and now he's even more conflicted because he's like, great, now we have another copycat child out here getting in danger.
Is this where he writes, I fear we may require a bigger cave?
Yes,
I love him so much.
It's just a couple pages later because I wrote that down.
Yeah, I wrote that. I wrote the quote down in my notes.
Good. Yeah, because he's calling Bruce, who's now in the car changing into his Batman outfit. And he's like, are you watching the news? Indeed I am, Master Bruce. And I find it most distressing. I think we might need a bigger cave.
I love him so much. Alfred is the best.
Yeah, and this is when Batgirl talks about how the element of surprise is worn off, and now she's in a fight for her life with a lot of armed thugs.
Yeah, yeah.
And she
doesn't know what she's doing.
No, this is her first time out. And she kicks him right in the ankle, and she's like, I'm hoping he's going to give up now. And I'm like, I woulda. That looked like it hurt. I mean, that's a heel into the ankle.
Reno says, I am a lover, not a fighter.
And unless I have a lover wearing heels and stomping into my ankle because that's my kink, this is not where I want to be in life. In a costume I'm not fully confident in, getting kicked right in the ankle with a sharp heel. So yeah, she's hoping he gives up, but instead he takes off the mask, and she's like, or maybe he won't. Maybe he'll double down.
Poor Barbara.
Yeah. And he's like, you picked the wrong costume, girl. I'm not fooling around anymore. This moth is changing. Do you hear? The moth is changing! He flies out the window. He jumps out the window.
He's so dramatic.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, maybe he'll just flit her away. Yeah, that was very cute.
I was not impressed with our villains so far. I
don't think you are ever supposed to be impressed with Killer Moth. He's more the sad sack that's being dragged along.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's like, I'm not letting him get away. So she jumps out like a second-story window and falls on her ass because Moth has wings. Hard to do. She does not. Yeah. But she starts chasing him. He shoots one of his little fire booms. She's like fucking running through brambles, and he's trying to get away. And he shoots like a moth signal up into the sky so the helicopter will come pick him up, which is just glorious. I'm like, man, that's great. And the issue ends with Batman and Rob. He's gotten away. She's on her hands and knees, feeling like crap. And who should be standing there but Batman and Robin? Last line. And what are you supposed to be? That's right. Could you stomp my self-esteem just a little further down? It's not quite in the gutter yet. But Batman, not a man here to help people's self-esteem.
No, he's really not.
He's here to Wildcat / Commissioner Gordon it up and tell her she needs to get the hell out of here.
Is this where he says she's just a girl?
That is Robin, who says she's just a girl. And Batman's like, Robin? Because Batman, here's what I like. Batman has assessed her properly as someone who's got something to prove. And Robin, as I'm guessing, 17-year-old over fucking, pumped up on adrenaline and way overestimating himself in this situation. Batman knows exactly what's going to happen before it happens. Tries to stop Robin, but Robin pulls it's just a girl, I'm going to take her down. And that's the wrong thing to say to Batgirl right now. So yes, issue 3 opens with her beating Robin's ass.
I thought that Bruce is the one who said she's just a girl.
No, that was Robin, yeah.
But Robin gets his ass handed to him as he deserves. Also, why Robin? Robins don't go with bats. Make it make sense. Yeah. Why did he become Robin? What was that about?
So Dick Grayson, as a member of the Flying Graysons, that was his nickname. They all had bird nicknames because they were fucking, what do you call the people that swing around up in the sky?
Trapeze.
Yeah, they were all trapeze artists. So they all had bird monikers, and his was Robin. So when they all got killed by mobsters, he took that name as kind of an homage to his family.
Okay.
Same with the bright, colorful outfit. And Batman decided kind of to use that. He mentions it later, talking about the good cop, bad cop paradigm. He's like, yeah, he's a good cop. That's why he's dressed. So,
yeah,
he's the friendly face to our team. He does the PR. But in this case, he is not the friendly face of the team. He is it's just a girl, which is...
He's the one with his face in the asphalt for being a jackass.
Yeah, he pays for it. And I like that too. Like, every time Robin underestimates Batgirl, he pays for it. He ends up eating mud. So, and it's also exactly what you would expect a 17-year-old who's been out beating up criminals every night. Like, that's the mindset you're going to expect. I assume he has not fought Poison Ivy or Catwoman yet, or he wouldn't be saying shit like this. But, you know, at this point, he's apparently only beat up, like, the Riddler and Mad Hatter. And so he's just like, only guys can fight, and I've beat up every guy I've come across, and you're just a girl. And he regrets this immediately. But before the fight can reach its conclusion, and as Batman's saying, this is no game, you have no right to use that, to wear that symbol. And she's like, and you do?
I love her.
That's your typical, that is your typical teenager answer. It's like, I learned it from watching you, Dad.
You don't have any right to the symbol. Bitch, why you letting them sell your symbol then? I got this at the corner store. What the fuck?
I mean, I had to make the rest of the outfit, but I stole the symbol off a fucking Halloween costume. Before they can continue this conversation, Killer Moth shows up with a machine gun and is like, oh man, I can kill all three of these guys, and my rep is made.
Look, Killer Moth is a rich boy with too many toys. That is all that's happening here.
Yeah. He is a rich boy who's quickly becoming poor because he's a rich boy that invested into the wrong business.
He bought Twitter.
Yeah, he bought Twitter, and my God, he is not, he's not trained, he is not supporting it well. And Robin, showing he's not a complete asshole, is asking if the girl's all right, because after the gunfire, everyone scatters. And Batman's like, the girl disappeared, but we'll be seeing her again. And Robin gets his little smirk. He's like, man, I hope so. And she's like, I hope so. Does the boy Wonder have a crush on me? Ew.
I wrote that down, and I will use that later to support my argument that...
Here's the thing. She does say that, but she also says, nice legs, good kisser. So, but she ended up saying, not my type, which again, knowing that they at least for a while end up together is kind of funny.
See...
They did,
we'll get to it.
For me, it gave the giggles.
For me, it was evidence that Dick shouldn't fucking kiss people who don't want to kiss him.
Look,
maybe.
That is unarguable. But in this situation, it does not end well for him, and she makes it very clear that was not a thing she was cool with. When he tries to kiss her again, and she gives him the fucking hand in the chest. Yeah, at least lessons were learned. Here's Bard acting a little creepy. She has to get back home before her dad does. And and of course, Gordon sends a black and white to her house to check on her. So she has to climb up the rose trellis outside her window, get changed into out of her bat costume and into some, I was asleep and you woke me.
I just thought she threw the robe over the bat costume.
Also, that's actually true because she gets changed later. But yeah, she has to get a robe and tie her hair up and make it look like she just got out of the shower or bed or something, and get downstairs before
it can be suspicious.
Yeah, before it's suspicious. And sure enough, it's Officer Bard, who tries to invite himself in for a nightcap and gets the door slammed in his face.
She draws her lines, and I appreciate that.
And he creeped me out here. Maybe it's the cop outfit. Maybe I know about the percentages of cops that beat their wives, and I don't want to let him in.
It's 40%.
Yeah, don't want to let him in. I got huge creep vibes, and I'm glad she slammed the door in his face. I kind of wish she wouldn't be falling for him later. And also might be I'm secretly in love with Batgirl. I don't know. I can't handle all these feelings. She goes to bed. And then her dad comes up and drops some I like this from Gordon. I like his subtle, does he know? Does he not know?
See, that's what I wrote down. So is Gordon sus or not? I mean, Barbara has a distinctive hair color. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be surprised if he recognized her. Yeah. He's not bad at his job. He could have recognized her.
Does Dad know is what I wrote in the notes. Because he mentions he's glad he reinforced the trellis. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that's a random thing to say.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Then he says, last thing I needed was my daughter risking her neck to put a burr in her old man's britches. And as he says that, he throws down the newspaper that says, Dark Knockout, costume crime fighter foils kidnapping, and it's a picture of Batgirl kicking one of the Moth soldiers. And then right next to it, Mothman at large with a picture of him looking like he's on the cover of National Enquirer, like it's a monster. And I'm like, no wonder these criminals think they're better than they are.
Mothman is way cooler than Killer Moth could ever dream to be.
Mothman's a better name, too.
Also that, yes.
Yeah. I get it. You were trying to be something that, like, would fight a bat and normally lose, but put killer in front of it, and this time I'll beat the bat. No.
Well, Mothman is a really cool cryptid. I got, off topic, but recently I had to replace my pride flag that I was in front of that hangs off the front of my house. I got one of the flagpoles.
Right.
My old one was looking a little tore up, so I bought a new one, and when I went to buy the new one, there was a pride flag with a Mothman on it.
Weird. Okay.
I know, it's so cool. But I bought that.
You know what I think that's from? Because his statue, which is in West Virginia, that's where the Mothman legend, or Virginia, either Virginia or West Virginia. Yeah, West Virginia. The Mothman statue has like a really nice ass.
It does.
And when people
really
take pictures of the Mothman statue, they take pictures of its ass.
Mothman is caked.
Yeah. So I guess that might be why the LGBT community has adopted him. Like, you got a nice ass? Come hang out with us.
Yeah. No reason.
You also don't seem to identify as male or female. I know you're the Mothman, but yeah, I don't see any genitals on that statue.
Okay. Again.
No.
Just really cool little side note.
Yeah.
My pride flag has a little Mothman on it.
Very cool. Very cool. Speaking of our Mothman, Killer Moth is talking to one of the big gangsters in Gotham City. And he's explaining his scheme. And the poor dude is... It's ironic because Batgirl doesn't want to be like Batman. Killer Moth wants to be an evil Batman.
Yeah.
He's basically like, look, you've got dirty cops and you've got like protection rackets that are protecting you from the police. That's why you can do all the crime you want. Mm-hmm. Like Gotham police, like most of them are dirty. But you have nothing to protect you from the vigilantes. The vigilante set. The Batmans, the Robins, this new Batgirl lady. That's where I come in. In the same way they light the bat signal and Batman shows up, here's my Killer Moth lamp, and he puts a moth lamp on the table for this guy whose name is Tony. He's like, hey, you like this bad boy? I'll show up. And he's like, yeah, and so will every cop and vigilante, because it's a crime light. It's a light that says crime is happening here.
What you need is a burner phone.
Yeah. And so they throw Killer Moth out on his ass, as you might imagine. And as he's going back to his Mothmobile, yes, he has a Mothmobile, he's doing the "you will all be sorry, you'll all be sorry. I'll show you that you need Killer Moth somehow." And he sees the bat signal in the sky. So just another kick in the teeth as he's getting in his car. Like, it works for that guy. And we cut to where the light's going off, and it's Gordon talking to Batman and Robin and asking the questions that we're all asking. Hey, that Batgirl with you or what? And Batman's like, no, don't worry. I'm shutting that shit down. Don't even sweat it. Sure.
Yeah, that'll work out real well for you, friend.
Yeah. Next is a full-page shot, and this is my favorite panel, of Batgirl in a convenience store just beating ass. She's got her one robber in a headlock while she's kicking another one through a glass window, and it's a great action shot, and it's the top left corner. It says she has her own agenda. And I'm like, hell yeah. That needs to be like a power, like the new Yes We Can poster. Like, she has her own agenda, and just a picture of Batgirl beating someone up. I'm like, beautiful.
It's nice.
Yeah,
it's nice.
My favorite panel. But unfortunately, the wheel man has come inside with a shotgun, and I feel bad. Barbara beats herself up a lot. She's like, stupid, you should have planned this better. I'm like, dude, this was real spur of the moment. You can't really beat yourself up. Yeah. And nobody improvises as good as you, Batgirl, so stop.
You got this, babe.
Yeah. So she gets a bag, goes over to the canned aisles, like, puts a bunch of canned stuff in the bag and makes a sap and just smacks the shit out of him.
I did write down here, just from this start, I can see why she ends up teaming up with Catwoman and Harley and Ivy sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, she she is much more spur of the moment, and she's more, because Batman is Bruce Wayne and Bruce Wayne is someone with means. She is someone who is a little bit more on the ground than Batman and Robin are.
Yeah. So she would have something more in common with a Catwoman who is, started at the bottom, but look at her now, kind of. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Like, I think the Harley Quinn cartoon did that correctly. Of all the people she would work with, like, it makes sense that it's Batgirl and Nightwing that take her in. Batgirl because they have so much in common, and Nightwing because he wants to have sex with everything. Makes sense to me.
Dick thinks with his dick.
Yeah, who would have thunk? So we cut. We cut to the Moth Mansion, and
I cannot.
And he is so pissed off because he's watching the news, and Batgirl stopped this robbery at the delicatessen, and he's just so upset. And it's cool because the first shot is of overhead, and there's a lamp with like moths like flittering around the lamp, and he's just yelling at the TV. The doorbell. He hears a knock at his door, and as he's walking through his house, you notice there's like nothing in the house. And it's because he took out a huge loan from Tony, the same criminal he visited as Mothman. He took out a huge loan to buy a secret base, a moth helicopter, a Mothmobile, to put his fucking thugs in Armani suits, like, and Ray-Ban sunglasses. Like, he spent all this money on this thing he was sure was going to turn dividends and has not earned him a penny yet, and it's actually cost him a ton. And two of Tony's thugs show up because he ain't paid his bill. And they beat the crap out of him. And it's funny because one of them even says something like, man, first we threw that Killer Moth Joker out of the base, and then we beat up this bloke. It's been a good night. Not knowing that they just beat the same guy up twice.
Moth's having a rough go of it.
He's having you almost feel sorry for the sad sack.
I do feel sorry for the sad sack. It's like, I feel like his scheme is kind of stupid.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Alright, it's not just me.
Yeah, no. It is a bad idea from start to finish. It is the worst. And the poor guy just can't see it. Barbara's picked up some climbing gear, and she is making her own little bat belt. Yep.
Now this is where she reflects on the fact that you got to be rich to do this. Yeah, this is where the
rich thing, because that climbing gear cost her quite a bit.
Yeah.
She's like, lucky I have a cop discount because I can add a little bulletproofness to my vest. I can get a taser and get some pepper spray and some other little cop gadgets.
She also because she points out she have to be rich, and I'm like, follow that chain of logic, girl. Follow it. Also, Barbara, potential defaulter of student loans. Too real.
Oh, and because I invested a bunch of money in a hobby. Yeah, too real. Like, oops, I spent my my loan money on books and video games. Oopsie.
I might have bought a computer more rich than what I needed.
Yeah, sometimes it'd be like that. So she's riding an elevator up, and she's changing into her costume.
Batman reminding Robin not to watch young girls get naked without permission. Gives him a nice good
smack on the back of the head for that.
Good on you, Batsy.
Yeah. And they're basically talking about what's going to happen when she jumps. And Robin's like, I don't think she's going to jump. I think she's going to look down and see that and be like, fuck no.
Robin is wrong every time he turns around.
Yeah, he's still learning. He has not. And
she won't even go up. She won't even go up there. She won't even do this. She won't even. I bet you my stock option.
I will say this: as long as we're given props occasionally, I do like that Robin constantly stands up to Batman, though. Like, Batman's like, this is how this is going to go. And Robin's like, I don't think so. No, I don't think... Like, he pushes back a lot more than I would with a scary man dressed like a bat. Here's
the thing. Batman is scary as long as you don't know Batman.
Yeah,
granted,
I suppose that's
like,
true.
He's terrifying if you're on the opposing side of him.
Yeah.
But, like, Dick isn't against Batman.
Yeah.
And he lives with him. Like, it's basically like when your dad is really scary.
Yeah.
And then, but you know that your dad also sleeps with a nightlight or something.
Yeah. It's fair. Yeah. You keep catching him crying in the hall about his dead parents.
Yep.
Not so scary. But yeah, Batman says, Robin says he doesn't think she's going to do it. And Batman says, you lost that wager before she even entered Wayne Tower. She's already making the leap. It's the fall that'll kill her. And that's the end of that issue. Nice to be continued. I'm glad we're reading this in a trade paperback, and we don't have to wait a month to find out what the hell that is. And she's jumping, and she's terrified, but also having the time of her life. And Batman cuts her rope, which at first seems like some petty bullshit.
It seems like a dick move.
It's not, but yeah, it seems like a total dick move. And I'm like, damn, Batman, this is not a good look for you. So yeah, issue 4 opens...
When he said you couldn't wear his color, he fucking meant it. He gonna kill you.
Yeah, not optional. And sure enough, she is falling to her doom. Robin swings in and saves her, sort of. But she throws him, as he catches her, while swinging at an angle, he throws her off balance, as catching another human would, and it causes him to slam into a wall and fall unconscious. And I'm like, oh god, this rescue's gone sideways. Like, you guys are, like, this did not... I'm like, I gotta remember, Robin is also probably in his year 1, or maybe barely his year 2. And I don't know how many. Batman hasn't been in it that long either. But like, this is amateur hour here. All this shit. But of course, Batman rescues them both. And explains why he did this.
Here's the thing.
Because it did seem really shitty at first.
Dick also has a massive crush on Barbara. I wouldn't be surprised if the lack of brain blood doesn't also make him fuck up a little bit.
I think so as well. He might have been hot dogging a little. Like later, he's definitely she calls him out on it when they're riding cycles together. But right now, he might have also been hot dogging a little. Mm-hmm. And she's like asking, like, "Come on, Batman, that's a little petty even for you." And he's like, "You were a terminal velocity. That jump line you were using has no give. It would have sliced your fingers off or pulled your arms from their sockets." And then Robin's like, "Come on, Batman, don't give her..." This is very funny because Robin and Batgirl keep go to bat for each other. Because first Robin's like, "Oh, come on, you're giving her a hard time." And he's like, "Don't call her Batgirl. Don't you ever call her that." And then she is like, "Well, no, don't give Robin a hard time." I like how they both are like at Batman, like trying to defend the other one. And then Batman gasses her.
Yep.
Because you can't show her where the Batcave is. You don't trust her that much yet. And sure enough, as she's starting to come conscious again, she hears Alfred's voice.
Batman and Robin and Jeeves.
Yeah.
I really love Barbara.
She's like, "I knew he was rich." So they take the blindfold off, and of course, as you always do when the Batcave is revealed, you get a big full-page shot of the Batcave.
I wrote down here, glory. How does anyone take Robin seriously? Because that panel right there of him,
he's trying to look cool. Yeah.
He looks like a child.
Yeah,
like he's supposed to be at least a teenager.
Well, I think
it's a bad look.
I don't think it's a bad look because I think he is playing off the exact same thing a Batgirl's playing off. He's making people underestimate him. He's
I'm just talking about how stupid he looks.
Right.
I'm not,
which is
like,
in the sexist world of Gotham City, as a man, that's how you have to get people to underestimate you. You have to dress like a clown, apparently. Not like the clown, Joker, because they don't underestimate him. But, like, you have to look silly. You have to be in a brightly colored costume and quip a la Spider-Man to have people underestimate you.
It was just not a good look. I was not...
Fair enough. But I also think this is also a play on what he wore when he was a trapeze artist. But luckily, he Nightwings eventually and gets pants.
Thank God.
Agree. But I get this look as a don't underestimate, like, please underestimate me thing. But yeah, blindfold comes off. I was right. Batman is rich and possibly a little crazy. Good line. Great line, actually.
Follow those instincts, sweetheart. Yeah. Follow them.
You speak of the true. And he tries to unmask her, and
she says no.
She tries to escape, and he basically is like, "You know what? I'm going out. Robin, watch her till I get back, and we'll continue this why you shouldn't be a vigilante discussion later."
After I go vigilante.
Yeah, I gotta go vigilante. But this is... I actually like this scheme. This is some schemy shit. Yeah, because Batman doesn't go anywhere.
No, he doesn't.
He goes upstairs and is watching them through the cameras.
I wrote down here, spend all that time telling Robin not to be, that they're not voyeurs, just to be called out by Alfred for being that.
Yeah. And Alfred is kind of reading the right act. He's like, look, I don't think you cannot keep having kids come and be bad people. Like, this is not cool.
Where is Alfred later when there are 20 people living in that goddamn house?
Yeah. I mean, you give up eventually. Like, eventually you're like, okay, you're going to do what you do. Yeah.
I'll clean the house.
And he's like, and what do you call this morality play unfolding beneath you? And Batman's like, it's a classic. Good cop, bad cop. And I trust that Master Richard is the good cop, says Alfred. Why else do you think he wears the bright colors? Responds Bruce. So yes, it's a very cute scene. Now Robin is like a kid into it. He's so proud. He is showing off his cave. There's a Flash comic. It's a quick aside, but where Flash and Nightwing are thinking about when they first met, and when Nightwing was still Robin, and he's showing Flash around the Batcave, and he's so excited. He's like, see this little corner? That's my corner. And you see that little crazy quill? That's Crazy Quill. He's one of my rogues. He's one of my villains. And it's so fucking cute. And then Batman shows up, and Flash takes off running, and Robin's like, yeah, remember that? I didn't see you for 2 weeks after that. But this has very similar shades. Robin's going around. He's like, and this is our helicopter, and this is our villain wall.
He's bragging to the girl that he likes.
I know, exactly.
And like, yeah, of course he is.
And it's working. She's like, my God, that computer's impressive. They've got a database that is embarrassing the Gotham City Police Department. They've got their villains, like, organized by fucking rank, type, and proclivities. Mm-hmm. And we get our first interaction of Barbara Gordon seeing the Joker when Robin says, this clown's no joke. If you see him, run the other way. And man, good advice, Robin. Good advice. And finally, they do a little thing where he's like, hey, we have a training room. If you want to, give it a spin, don't tell Batman that I'll let you do it. He'll get mad at me. But if you want to give it a try... And he gives Batman the thumbs up on the camera as he's letting her in.
I wrote down here, it's not the X-Men practice room, but it's not too shabby.
It's not bad at all. Batman turns off the fail-safes, which seems insane.
No! Surely he's not actually crazy.
No.
Like Barbara has
suggested. When the bullets start flying, she's like, are they actually crazy? She reiterates that question, and God,
yes,
it's hard to argue against at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. But she ends up, like, surviving this crazy, there's like she's trying to save a baby, but then the baby's actually a bomb carriage, and then she throws that into a group of other guys, and she does very well. And Robin's clapping as she punches him in the stomach.
I am pro Barbara hitting him.
He's like, yeah, nice. I think you get your diploma. And she's like, oh, how's my postgraduate work, she says, and she starts beating the crap out of him. Batman appears behind her because he's like, I can't lose a sidekick. She's going to kill him.
It's too early for this.
Yeah. I wouldn't grade you as high as my partner. And she says, yeah, well, I have a few words for you, too. She throws a punch at him, which he, of course, catches.
Of course.
Yeah. He's like, hey, I ain't Robin, lady. You can't beat my ass like you beat his ass. And I like this part, too. Like, Batman's like, look, you did fine, except that at the end, you threw that bomb into a group of people. Like, that's not how we do. We never take lives. Like, you failed the test. And Robin, who she just punched like 3 times, is still like, it wasn't a fair test. Like, he's still defending her. He's still Robin, standing up for her. He is smitten as hell.
Secret masochist.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think the more she hits him, the more he likes her.
Barbara goes to the same school of flirting that I do.
Yeah. Right? And then he asks her why she's doing it, and she gives him an answer. And
is this where she said, because I can?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love her.
Yeah.
I love her so much.
And then she's like, so just do it. Just knock me. He's got his like knockout gas in his hand. She's like, do it. Just knock me out. Just knock me out with your gas. Robin taps her on the shoulder. She turns around and he's got the gas. And fucking Alfred with, of course, the chef's kiss, perfect line. Curious how the role of bad cop is so easily set into the understudy. It's such a good bit. That whole bit of like the gas fake out, which also, weirdly enough, shows respect for Barbara, because he's like, I'm not sure I could have gassed her again, like straight on. We have to do a little sneaky thing. So they drop her off at the house, and she's like, oh man, they know exactly who I am. But it turns out they don't. Bruce does not. Alfred does, and Robin do. And they keep the secret from Bruce, which I find just... It's quaint. It's cute. Like,
I said no wonder Dick was so into helping her. He knew who she was the whole time.
He has been in love with her since the first time he met her. And when Gordon pulls her aside, he's like, don't even think about it, boy wonder. Which that scene's a little later, but very cute. Like,
yeah, because here's where, because Alfred's like, and you knew the whole time? Like, Bruce couldn't figure it out, but you knew. And Dick's like, yeah, she's got the little freckles right here.
Oh my God. He's smitten as hell.
I don't like Dick and Barbara. I anti-ship them. I don't like them being kissy-kissy or whatever, because Dick belongs with Starfire.
Fair enough.
But I do think that was a cute, like...
It's very cute.
It's fucking adorable.
And honestly, it makes him shooting his shot later. For me, anyway, a little more forgivable. This isn't just I met her a couple nights ago. Like, this dude's had a crush on her for fucking months.
Ever.
Thought the moment was right. Took his shot. Did not ask permission, and that is wrong. But... he took a shot, and it went nowhere. Nope. But we aren't there yet. Where we are is she gets a mysterious package. And she opens it up, and there's batarangs, smoke bombs, a rope that won't kill her, which is a great gift.
Yeah, that one is a good gift.
And this adorable note for Robin. I'd fall for Robin with this shit. It says, Batgirl, you look like a fast study. This will help you cram. Trust me, he'll come around. And he's got signed with an R in a circle. P.S. Pixie boots are optional. Because she calls him pixie boots because of the boots he wears. And I'm like...
he looks fucking ridiculous.
And she's like, aw, it's everything I need for the makeup exam. She's like, all right, fuck it. I'll take this challenge. I'm coming in hot. Yeah. Issue 5 opens with her getting choked. And Batman and Robin lying in a pile behind her. Luckily, this is just Killer Moth fantasizing as he's getting drunk in a bar. Because, man, a lot of hate for her. He blames her for pretty much everything that's happened to him.
I feel like Killer Moth just tried to combine the idea of guns for hire and the mafia. Yeah. That is all his plan was.
He thinks he's super creative, and he's not. So this is a very famous bar in Gotham.
Everyone has a gimmick.
Called the Bar with No Name. It's the bar where villains go to hang out. And you get a cameo by Spot, who, if you ever watch the second Suicide Squad movie, he's one of the main characters in that. But it's just him yelling at the bartender. But yeah, Killer Moth is hanging out in the Bar with No Name, drinking with a mysterious stranger, who we will find out who it is later. And he's bitching about losing his gang and such. Yeah. And he's talking about how bad his day's been. So at first he's at his house. And we get little inserts of Barbara Gordon like trying to figure out Killer Moth's next move. Because she's like, well, the makeup exam might involve me beating up Killer Moth and dropping him off. Like, that'll impress Batman and Robin. And my dad won't know I did it. It'll be great. So Killer Moth is getting in costume. And he's like, come on, guys. We're going to go to my fucking... he calls it the cocoon. It's his moth cave.
Yeah.
But it's just a fucking warehouse by the pier.
With a fax machine, because this is written in the 1950s. Yeah. And also...
2003.
This is...
fax machines were still in use back then.
Uh-huh.
I take offense.
Here's the thing.
Yes?
I am 33 years old. And I have used a fax machine one time, and that was one time too many.
And they're very annoying. I had to use them when I was applying for college. Like, fuck, everything was fax. Fax this here, fax this there. I had to go to, like, office department stores, which don't exist anymore. It's just like 2 of them left in the country. And fax from their place to the fucking... and wait around for a confirmation fax to come back. Ugh, God, that sucked.
And also, the cocoon.
Yeah.
This is why I would not survive in a comic book world, because
you can't commit to the gimmick. It's very sad.
I I feel like I would go around killing bad guys just for having gimmicks.
Well, you'd be the Punisher then. Which,
I'm not killing them because they're doing wrong things.
Well,
I don't even care about the crime.
The end point is the same.
I don't even care about the crime.
Yeah.
Just get out of here with calling a place the Cocoon. The fuck's the matter with you?
Here's the thing. Batman can't do that because he lives in a Batcave.
I would also kill him.
Yeah, fair enough. But we cut to a seemingly unconnected scene of a movie set.
Man cave. What's the difference?
It's money. The more money you have, the more I feel like most men's fantasy, if they had enough money, is to make a bat cave out of their man cave. I know mine is. We cut
I'm
seemingly
judging you.
Fair enough. We cut seemingly to a unconnected movie set where they're asking where Garfield Lens, who is the special effects guy, where the fuck is he? We're trying to do an explosion shot here. So a guy goes to his trailer and asks, and he's like, I'm on the way. And the dude who went to summon him is like, whoa, that dude's intense. So you get the idea that this Garfield Lens guy is kind of, whew, he's just got a cold aura about him. So he finally comes out, and the director's giving him shit. He's like, so we want a big explosion, right? He's like, you've got this set up correctly, yeah? So him and his protege are getting ready to do the scene. And his protege is like, I checked the wiring, we're all set, Gar. And Gar says, good. He says, but you got a lot of jelly out there. You sure the blast? And Garfield says, when I need a guy fresh out of film school to tell me my business, I'll retire, okay? And his little guy's like, sure, Gar, just asking.
It's just a question, my man.
So they roll the scene, and it's like some female vixen with a Tommy gun in a cocktail dress standing in front of some exploding barrels, like having a shootout with a bunch of people. You know, typical action movie scene. But then the barrels behind her explode and she catches fire.
Yep, yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, put her out, blah, 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 blah. And you get, this is so well done.
Yeah.
The last two panels are you get a scene of just the lower half of Gar's face, like under the nose and chin. And at first he's mad, and then you see just the corner of his lip curl up. And he's smiling, and you're like, oh, I know everything I need to know about this guy.
So I think here, is this like what, page 112?
107.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here shortly, I wrote down, oh, so we finally found the dude in this who actually creeps me out.
Yeah. The actual villain.
Yeah, we finally found the actual bad guy.
But first, a little more time with our lovable loser. Killer Moth shows up at his property, which has been seized for unpaid taxes. And his men immediately throw their glasses down.
They leave.
Yeah, they're like, you know what?
There's a dude in Iron Man who's like, I don't get paid enough for this shit.
I didn't get paid, but I got a nice suit that I can wear to job interviews because I'm quitting the biz.
This is far enough for me.
I would have kept the glasses too, but whatever. So they leave, and Firefly is like, he's walking, and as soon as he starts walking, he's like, no gang, no ride, no future, and it starts raining. And I'm like, perfect end to a perfect day.
Yeah. It'd be like that sometimes.
And Barbara's still writing about him. I can imagine him right now, basking in his cozy secret headquarters, plotting his next crime or some mega gigabyte moth pewter. No underground bunker for this guy, though. Moths like warmth, right? Or is it that they just like to flirt around in the spotlight? So she's, again, because her only encounter with him, he had a bunch of dudes in Armani suits. He seemed like that kind of guy. So she's like, oh, I'm sure he's in his moth cave with his moth computer. She had him pegged. What she did not know is that he's used all his millions and all that shit's getting seized. We cut back to the movie studio, and they're like, okay, well, we can't do the movie. She's never going to act again. She's getting skin grafts off 80% of her body. Like, it's a fucking tragedy.
Yeah.
Garfield Lens is not even paying attention. He is like, he's lit a cigarette, and he's just staring at the cigarette lighter flame, which is now shaped into a woman's. Like, he's seeing angels in the fire here. And they're, like, he's obviously a fucking pyromaniac, and they're like, Lens! Like, fucking pay attention. He's like, what the hell happened out there? What were you thinking? And Lens says, it said spectacular explosion. And the director's like, spectacular, yes. Deadly, no. Your assistant tells me he warned you there was too much incendiary. And Garfield says, you got it all on film? says 4 cameras, but it's all useless. And Garfield says, so what are you going to do with the footage? And everybody in there's just staring at him like, oh my God, you want the get out, you sick creep. And at that point I was like, oh, this guy's a goddamn nut. Oh.
Love how we have all these weirdos with gimmicks and costumes, and the one you have to look out for is wearing a knockoff Bruce Wayne outfit.
He really is. He's got the black turtleneck. Yeah. So he walks out, and there's a fire being put out. He sees it, and again, he's seeing like angels dancing in the flames. Like he is, and he puts the cigarette out in his like hand, and you get in like he's biting his lower lip. Like he's getting a sick pleasure out of this. Like the man likes.
He is truly a sociopath.
He is usually a pyromaniac and a fucking sociopath and a psychopath. Like we will find later that he doesn't just like fire and see women in the fire. He wants to see women in the fire. Yeah. Like he specifically wants to.
He's an episode of Criminal Minds. Wait, that
absolutely. Oh my God! Right. So. Can we cut back to Killer Moth, who's stealing a jacket from the charity box, and he finally gets to the bar, which this bar's actually called the Alibi.
Yeah,
so it's not the famous bar with no name.
I wrote down bar named My Alibi that caters to villains. Perfect.
Yeah, the bar with no name. Maybe that's a Marvel thing, but yeah, he's in a bar called the Alibi. My mistake. And he's talking, and finally the other person leans out of the shadow, and it's Garfield Lens, who has been not super interested in this story until Killer Moth mentions trying to get revenge on Batgirl. And that's when Lens perks up, because he's like, I'll set the lady on fire. I'm actually very interested in that. We cut back to Tony's club. This is the guy that Killer Moth tried to start a protection racket with earlier. So he comes back in and he's like, yeah, I'm back. And this time, I'm not asking, I'm taking. And, these guys are kind of laughing at him. Yeah, Tony Gressy finds this hilarious because Killer Moth is goofy. But we get our first shot of Firefly. Garfield Lens has also got himself a bug gimmick. And let's just say a much more intimidating one, because he's a goddamn psychopath.
Firefly and Killer Moth. Yeah. These are cute and harmless bugs. Yeah. Maybe the problem is that they keep choosing less than lethal critters. I
mean, the Firefly for me works because he sets people on fire. It's this kind of thing where, much like the Joker, you seem non-threatening until you start threatening people. Firefly freaks me out.
No, look, the dude is creepy, but fireflies are cute little bugs that their tail ends light up. Oh, yeah. It's not exactly a thing that strikes fear into the heart.
Yeah, maybe Firefly is also trying to get people to underestimate him. But if so, he's not doing a good job, because Moth says, kill the music. Firefly does with his flamethrower, which he now has. But then he just burns the whole fucking place
down. He keeps killing the music.
Yes. And this is where we get a great shot of how out of his fucking depth Killer Moth is. Yeah. He's like, too much! We're just supposed to scare them. And Firefly says, trust me, they're scared.
Yeah.
He's like, they'll never pay us now. He'll kill us. I want out. And Firefly,
he didn't last long.
Yeah. Firefly's, what happened to partners? We stick with the plan, Cameron. And he's like, what plan? He's like, we're going to take down the bats. All the bats. That's how we make our rep. That's how we make wise guys like Tough Tony pay up. I got nothing to lose, man. He's just walking away from the fire. It's like, oh, this is... okay. Great. And we get a quick shot of the director and his assistant getting blown up in cars. So Garfield Lens is tying up all the loose ends of his old life.
Yep.
Again,
vengeance.
Nothing to lose. He also comes up with a very obvious idea of breaking open the chains that the tax people put on the Moth Cave and getting their shit out.
Yeah.
Again, Killer Moth is not cut out for this. We now cut to...
pair of bolt cutters will do you some good.
Right? Come on, every criminal needs one.
Bird of Prey was a very fun title for this.
Yeah. Later, there's a group called the Birds of Prey, which is where this is the start of that with Batgirl and Black Canary. We open up on
We
issue 6.
do my least favorite thing again, where we time hop all over the place.
Yeah, it's true. We're back at that. We had a couple issues without it, though. No, we didn't.
No, we did not.
We open up and Black Canary is being attacked by a dude in a greenhouse. And poor Batgirl's got to cover her ears because Black Canary's got to scream. That's her gimmick. She flips this weird farmer dude over, knocks him out, and Firefly and Killer Moth are running away with Commissioner Gordon. She tries to scream at them, but unfortunately that dude had her in a chokehold and her voice is temporarily given out. So they got to run after him on foot. Batgirl almost gets her face burned off. Black Canary saves her. And this is one of many. Batgirl mentions later how she's been saved a lot of times by Black Canary in this mission. Because Black Canary's the veteran here. She's been doing this a while.
Yeah, I wrote down here, I feel like Barbara should have more realistic expectations of herself. She's new to this. Canary has been doing this.
She's one of those kids who was probably good at everything for a long, long time and has finally hit that learning curve where she's like, I don't know how to handle it when I'm not instantly good at something.
Yeah.
So they're riding after her on the Bat Bike, which was given to her by Robin, which we get in a flashback. We do get a little scene where he gets a little close for a little while, giving her the eyeball.
Is this where he says for the good of Gotham?
Yeah,
the good of Gotham. More like the long game to end up with barbs.
Man, I tell you, it worked, but it was expensive. Luckily, Bruce Wayne was booting the bill.
Bitches got money, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So he goes back to Batman, and it turns out, of course, Batman knew about all the gifts.
Of course.
And Robin, who had lied to her and said he didn't know about any of the gifts. And Robin's like, so you're coming around, right? And Batman's like, no, I'm just trying to keep her from getting killed till she stops doing this crazy shit.
I'm trying to wait her out.
And now Robin's the one with the right of it. He's like, you didn't see the look in her eyes, man. I don't think she's giving this up anytime soon.
We're just going to keep supplying her with shit if you're trying to wait her out.
We're just paying for a new hero. So they are on a motorcycle chasing a truck. The truck has Killer Moth and Firefly in the back. There's a mystery car behind them pursuing the motorcycle. We do not know who's in that car yet.
She also just assumed that Batgirl was with Batman. Like, no one can keep track of the amount of orphans this man adopts. So as long as they got the right shtick, the Canary just went with it. Also, the villain should take advantage of that.
And Batgirl also goes with it. Because Batgirl's like, oh yeah, Batman sent me. She's like, are you going to call this into him? It's like,
nope.
No, I'm freelancing tonight. And
I got this.
Canary gives her a look like, now I'm wondering if you guys are actually in cahoots. So now we do a flashback for our criminals where Killer Moth and Firefly, Tony's talking to them and saying, here's what I want you to do. Get Gordon, take him to this location, and wait for me. This is some property I own. Take him there. Wait for me. I will call you with what to do next. And yeah, they leave to do that, and it seems Tony's going to fuck him over. Like, at the end of the night, they're Killer Moth and Firefly are going to be gone, and Gordon's going to be gone, and Tony's going to be on top of the world, if this goes the way it's supposed to. We get a very small Poison Ivy cameo in the Gotham Gazette. They talk about how there's a new fern growing down the Arkham walls, and that the doctors probably are worried about it. And a picture of Poison Ivy there.
My girl, Poison Ivy. I love you.
Gordon's talking to a private investigator who is friends with Black Canary. There's a picture of them all hanging out on his desk. And Gordon is saying, private detectives can do things I can't, and I'm trying to figure out who's this arsonist that's been burning half of Gotham down. And, detectives basically like, I'll keep an eye on it. He goes downstairs and he's like, I forgot my coat. And the deputy that's with him is like, I'll go back up and get it. I think that's Bard, right?
Yeah, because he...
Yeah, because he ends up trying to save Gordon here. And a grenade goes rolling into the detective's office. And I like the detective. We only meet him for a minute, but he pushes Bard out. He saves the cop and takes the grenade for himself. Which I'm like, that sucks, man.
He didn't last long.
No, he did not. And Gordon goes back up the stairs and pulls Bard down and gets clubbed. And look, it's Killer Moth and Firefly, or so we suspect. And Killer Moth shoots Bard right in the leg. Mm-hmm. He's like, first, though, what do you say we kneecap Officer Bard, is it? And at this point, you're like, man, Killer Moth, that Firefly's rubbed off on him. He's gotten real bloodthirsty. We will find out that this is not actually Killer Moth and Firefly. These are impersonators hired by Tony to frame them for all this Gordon shit they're doing. We realize that as we cut to the warehouse that has become the new cocoon. Killer Moth is complaining about how hot Garfield keeps it, which, yeah, no surprises there. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, let's go talk to Tony again, see if he's sweetened up to our offer. And at this point, you're like, wait, I thought he had already agreed and that you were out doing the job.
Right.
Curious,
right.
Sir. And
it doesn't make any sense. And this is one of the reasons why I hate the back and forth shit.
Yeah.
It confuses me.
Yeah. It's, so, Black Canary is getting ready to beam down to Gotham City. And Green Arrow's asking if she wants him to come along because these two are a couple. She's like, no, I got this, yo. And when she gets there, it turns out that Gordon's been kidnapped. And that's on the radio. And Barbara gets it as well, which causes her to show up. So Black Canary and Barbara Gordon both show up at the fire at this detective agency. Mm-hmm. She climbs into the back of the ambulance to talk to Bard. And he explains what happened. And she's like, well, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And he's like, no, you'll just get into trouble. Which, accurate, but that is what happens. So, as Batgirl's getting on her bike and getting ready to pursue, Black Canary grabs her, and she's getting ready to punch you. She's like, who grabbed me by the arm? Oh my God, it's her.
It's the one I wrote to.
Yeah, she fangirls out a little bit.
Which completely fair.
Yeah, completely fair. And the real Killer Moth and Firefly are looking on from above. So now we've got fake Moth, fake Firefly who have kidnapped Gordon in the truck. Mm-hmm. We have the motorcycles with Black Canary and Batgirl. And then behind them, the real Killer Moth and Firefly who are following them. So now we're all caught up to where this explosion happens. And we cut to Tony's mansion. There's a knock at the door. He opens the door and in come his fake criminals carrying Gordon. Like, they're right behind us. He's like, you weren't supposed to bring them here.
They panic.
Yeah, as you do. Right behind them, Batgirl and Black Canary come in and get thrown to the floor by the real Moth and Firefly. So now we have this crazy standoff between the reals and the fakes, with Gordon as a prisoner, Tony not knowing what's going on, and Batgirl and Canary sitting in the floor, and Canary saying, promise me we won't ever make this little partnership a regular thing, which, you know, Birds Afraid, kind of a joke.
Yep.
And Batgirl's like, done. And that is how we end that issue. We open up issue 7, and I like that the description of the house and the final thing is some fire damage because, like, one of the rooms explodes. It's a very cute
some
little
fire
thing.
Damage.
Yeah, a little fire damage. Yeah, we are setting folks on fire, and it's great. The real Firefly melts the fake Killer Moth, like, right off the bat. Which, hey, flames, a moth's biggest weakness, one could argue.
Also, what the fuck did you expect to happen?
Yeah. And Killer Moth, you see the real Killer Moth in the background, his eyes are wide, and I'm like, you've got to be used to this by now, my man. Batgirl is rescuing Gordon and yelling out for Oracle to hold them off. She's like, God, just like a Bat-Katir, already giving everybody orders. And it's true, she is.
She fits in more than one way.
Yeah, Firefly is watching Moth burn and getting probably erect from it. Killer Moth is throwing up in his suit.
Fair.
He then is getting ready to give the same beef to the fake Firefly, who's got a crappier flame gun. Because, again, he just made up a costume. Didn't even get their eye color right, which is good because it's the only way you can tell them apart. He's got blue eyes. The real Firefly has red eyes. Black Canary, despite all her complaints about being given orders, gets in the fight. She does as instructed and starts distracting. She kicks Firefly. Fake Firefly gets set on fire. And Killer Moth is like, the phony Firefly, his flame takes are going to... And Black Canary's like, oh, hell. And then, of course, that's where you get the fire damage, the huge explosion. Black Canary and Batgirl get out with Gordon and Tony, who, of course, immediately tells them he's going to sue them because they blew up his house. Black Canario knocks the shit out of him.
As she should.
Yeah. And tells Batgirl to boot it because this is getting ready to be public and you should not be here. Fair enough. Mm-hmm. Batgirl blows up the Bat bike and goes home. And
I am pro her casual, just destruction of Bruce's property.
Yeah.
I like it.
Can't let him find it. And then Green Arrow is, of course, surprised to discover that there is now a Batgirl in the mix as Black Canary, who is half on... As red marks all over her body from all the firing she did. Gordon turns on the bat signal. Robin's the only one that shows up. And he's basically like, look, take care of this Batgirl thing or I'm going to do it. I didn't like you doing this. You should be home studying and failing to pick up girls or something. He said something like that, which I thought was, ow.
Yeah. He knows.
It's the pixie boots and the green shorty shorts, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's like, boy, if you knew Dick Grayson's future, you'd eat those words. But he's like,
he's got to work out and get that ass first.
Yeah, he really does.
as Pixie Boots,
yeah,
his sexual value goes way down.
Yeah, it's fair. I'm not one to judge based on attire, but I can't argue the point. So Barbara Gordon wakes up in the morning, and she's got red everywhere except where her mask is. She's like, after last night, you're fortunate to not be in the burn ward. Count yourself lucky that you just have that some of your exposed skin was seared. Lucky me. And so Dad's knocking on the door. She can't answer it like this, so she very wisely immediately slaps on a mud mask.
It was very cute. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
Very smart too. Man, good cover. Very clever. I got to give credit where it's due. Then she goes to visit Ward, and this is where she kind of starts to fall for him because he took a bullet for her dad. That's got to be a quick thing of Killer Moth trying to read the paper, and the fucking Garfield setting it on fire while he's still reading it. And he's like, you worry too much. Look, we let this die down, and then we'll make our mark. And Moth, of course, is like, I cannot afford to keep not making our mark, man. We got to start turning some money soon.
Yeah. I put all of my money into this.
So Bard and Babs, the bee and the bee, are talking, and they seem to be hitting it off. But then Gordon shows up, and he's like, keeping Bard company, are we? And she's like, I gotta go. Good night, Jason. Dad caught me
flirting. I must go die now.
That was pretty nice. So he watches her leave. There's 2 silent panels of him watching her run out. And then he holds up donuts to Bard, which it's cute.
It is cute.
And of course he has to go visit the man who saved his fucking life. Or tried to, anyway. And so Barbara's
Bard took a bullet in the leg for her.
Yeah. So Barbara's very embarrassed by that. And she's like, okay, I'm not going to sleep tonight anyway. She tries to do some superheroing, but everything is
it's actually a quiet night in Gotham.
Everyone's watching horror movies. She keeps swinging up to hearing people scream. It's just televisions.
Which I'm gonna give her credit because she doesn't do that really embarrassing thing where she didn't interrupt that film set thinking it was an actual crime. She doesn't do any of that, which I really enjoy.
Yeah,
that's not a rookie mistake she falls into.
Yeah. And she said, and another Oracle mention, I'll quickly mention.
There's so many Oracles.
No one knows what's around the corner, except for an Oracle, maybe. But when you think you have it all figured out, and then it shows her being revealed that it's not an actual crime. There has to be something happening tonight. So now she needs that adrenaline rush. And finally, she finds a purse snatcher. She flips down, and she's like, all right, I'm going to give him 3 seconds to surrender. And it's 1, 2, and he pulls out a knife, and she's like, oh, for crying out loud.
was trying to be nice.
Kicks him right in the crotch. Actually, through the crotch, I dare say. That most painful
He's not
panel.
having babies.
Yeah, most painful panel. Robin.
He earned it.
Robin's classic. He loved it. Like, Robin's like, that's good shit.
Hey, look, you know what? He's not getting hit this time. He's going to let it go.
And it sends a nice feminist message. And he gives the lady back her purse. And she's like, of course, the other man in my life.
Yeah. At least your dad won't catch you flirting with this one.
Right. And they drop off another bike for her. And Robin's like, so, want to go riding? Yeah. And so off they go on what we assume is another adventure.
That isn't going to end well if that first page is anything to go by.
Yes. Issue 8, we open with Robin smirking, and he's right. He's hot dogging.
He's enjoying
and she's trying to keep up. He's flying through the subway tunnels, and like he's doing. This is where he feels comfortable. As someone who was raised as a trapeze artist, like this kind of stuff does nothing. Like no fear from this kid. And she's trying to be cool and keep up, and having varying amounts of luck. And he's like, "Hey, you don't have to keep shouting. You're wired in. You can just talk normal." She's like, "I'm shouting because I'm kind of scared, and we're driving 90 miles per hour through subway tunnels." Quick stop off to beat up the Condiment King, who, that is right, is a man who has mustard and ketchup on his belt and tries to squirt people.
I hate this.
I thought it was very funny. And whether you love it or hate it, you don't got to worry. It only lasts 2 pages. And then they're back. And she's like, really? All this for the Condiment King? He's like, of course not. This is a side trip. We got to keep moving. And this is the scene where he's like, maybe you're not serious enough about this girl, Batgirl. And she leans in and says, maybe you're too. And then he kisses her and then speeds away. Like, as soon as he kisses her, it's a kiss and a speed away. So,
all right. At what point, Mr. Grayson, has she given you any indication that she wants to kiss you?
I mean, that smile right there. Like, no, obviously she hasn't. She's a girl his age that he's had a crush on forever, and yeah.
I was less than impressed with Dick.
I wouldn't say impressed with it. I wasn't impressed with it, but I will say, like, I get it. I get it more in 2003 than I don't think it would have happened in 2024.
Thank God.
Not that justifies it, but yeah, I get it. He's had a crush for a long time. He thought he saw a shot. He took it. It turns out he was wrong. We will find that out after the mission. But meanwhile, the mission is that there is a Arkham inmate escaped, known as Blockbuster, who's just a big buffed out dude.
Colossus. He's Colossus.
Big Colossus guy who really hates Batman.
Bats.
Yeah, who would have thought? And he's taken over a train, and he's decided he's going to just start smashing people on the train one by one. Alfred is redirecting the train onto a unused track for everyone's safety. Thank you, Alfred.
Alfred is really the unsung hero of the Bat universe.
Always is. And then Batgirl decides she's going to try something. She's like, it might be stupid, but I'm tired of everything being his idea, talking about Robin. Answering the signal, chasing the train, kissing me. I want to show some initiative. So, the kiss was so off-putting that Batgirl has to drive her motorcycle in front of the train and wreck it to take the initiative back in her life, which she does. She tries to use the motorcycle to stop the train, and she's like, I'm fine. Well, I busted another bat bike, whatever.
It's not my money, bitch.
And she jumps to the side and grabs the train as it goes by. Blockbuster, of course, hears this because you can imagine it is loud. He sticks his head out of the window to see what the noise is about, and she fucking maces him, which causes him to climb onto the roof with her. And she's like, where the hell is Robin? Turns out that, she says, and where's the boy Smoocher? He is actually downstairs rescuing the people. He's like, let's go everyone to the back of the train. So he's getting everyone safe.
Yes.
While she fights which shows a lot of confidence in her because Blockbuster is a big fella.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it looks like he is getting ready to beat her. And the only thing that stops her is that the subway tunnel gets a little lower. He, unaware that it has done so, and gets smashed in the face and knocked out. And she almost falls off the train. Robin catches her, pulls her in. It's the dark, deserted train because he's gotten everyone out. He leans in for a kiss again. She pushes him back, and he's like, damn. Yeah. Kiss.
Fuck you, Dick.
Kiss number 2 denied. And Gordon's getting the details that, hey, Blockbuster was stopped. And it's funny because they keep talking about how to get him down from there. They're like, I don't know, a crane, a forklift maybe? Like, because he's this big, huge dude on top of the subway car. Like, we got to get this thing running again. Does anyone have any ideas? But someone mentions Redhead. Like, some redhead bat person. And he's starting to make connections. We get a brief cameo by Vicky Vale, news reporter and occasional love interest of Bruce Wayne and Batman. She tries to ask him questions, and he runs off because he's, like, made this connection. And she's talking about Robin not being her type, but she says he knows his way around a kiss, and he's got good legs, which, man, you can't dress the way he does if you don't. Like,
That's also true. Oh, yeah.
He hasn't developed the butt yet, but apparently the legs are already there. So she's kind of two minds about that whole thing. But it immediately leaves her mind because she comes home to find her dad in her room that has been torn up. And she's like, you were smart. You didn't leave anything in your room. He hasn't got evidence. And then she's like, wait, you left nothing in your room. He hasn't got evidence. You're playing this all wrong. Time to be the attacked victim. So she's like, how dare you, Dad? My privacy, my personal...
My room! What the fuck are you doing in my room?
Yeah, exactly. And he's leaving because he just got a call that the GCPD is on fucking fire.
Yeah, Firefly's got a shtick.
Yeah, Firefly is back making his rep finally. And fucking Mothman set up his little moth light on top to make sure they get credit. Because again, this is all about making their rep. So, issue 9, our final issue. We've got Batgirl trying to stop, for the final time, our bug team. She is under them, and they are just setting shit on fire. And Moth is like, I think we should get off. The building's burning down. Firefly's like, I know. Isn't it beautiful? Can't you smell the bacon frying? Wow, wow, wow. Those stupid cops will never laugh at us again, Moth. Never again. He's like, yeah, we should still be going. And he's like, no, this is great. He's like, wouldn't it be prettier watching it from high up? And Firefly's like, oh, I like the way you think. And Moth says, yeah, whatever. Sure.
I don't want to die in a fire, okay?
Whatever I gotta say to get you the fuck off of this fucking flaming building before you die, you moron.
Should have left him there.
Yeah, he served his purpose. But I know, Killer Moth knows they're not going to take him seriously if Firefly's not standing next to him, let's be honest. Batgirl, of course, lassos the copter, and she is in hot pursuit. Firefly says, hey, we got a straggler, Mr. Helicopter Pilot. Can you swing her into a wall or something? And sure enough, he starts doing the evasive maneuvers, and she's fucking like a pendulum getting swung around. Batman and Robin are also on the scene, but they don't really know how to get into this particular situation. They're like, how do we get in this? We got to let Batgirl see what she's doing. And sure enough, she's using the rope that Robin gave her that's supposed to be super strong to stop the copter. And it works perfectly. It jerks the copter into crashing.
Well, she lassos it around the top of is that a building or a water tower? I think it's a
water tower, yeah, on top of a building.
And she uses it to, like, anchor the helicopter so that it can't go anywhere anymore.
Yeah, and she ends up falling off of the rope. Or actually, she falls because she sees...
on purpose.
Yeah, she picked the perfect place to fall. Meanwhile, the copter ends up crashing because that's what happens when a copter's moving in a direction and suddenly gets jerked to a stop. Yeah.
They don't handle it so well.
Yeah. So she stops Firefly and Killer Moth and the pilot. So A1 for criminal stoppage. Mm-hmm. And she manages to not die. So A1 for not dying.
Hey.
She falls into a pool. But little luck involved. She's like, luckily I'm fast enough to break through the glass and not enough to get splattered on the glass. Also, oh joy, the pool has water in it. And I hit the deep end. So a lot of stars aligned for her to not die in this stoppage.
This worked out well.
Yeah. And then you have Moth and fucking Firefly, both looking pathetic now, crawling out of this crashed fucking copter. And they're both blaming each other. And Batman's like, I'm sure there's enough blame to go around. And Firefly goes, huh? And Moth's like, oh, it's them. And Robin's like, right, Bugface, it's us. So they get stopped. Of course, Batman and Robin get the credit. And Batgirl's like, this is my fucking life now. Never getting credit for fucking anything. We've been here, folks. Her and her dad aren't talking because he's very busy. But she leaves him a little bag lunch in his office. Like, you know, they're trying to mend fences. And she has a little note on her computer when she gets back to her desk. It says, the corner of O'Neill and Adams at midnight. And it's got a little bat symbol on it. And then it catches fire. Like, it's one of those, after you read this note, it will self-destruct things, which I didn't think you could make in real life, but
Batman's got
here's a
too much money.
You can make them in. Yeah. Yeah. So she's like, all right. And at first she's like, this is just Boy Wonder giving me more gadgetry to apologize for trying to kiss me, I guess. But it turns out, no. It's the quote-unquote real deal. The Batman himself. And this time he gives her a blindfold instead of gassing her. Trust is slowly being earned here. Puts her back in the simulation and basically tells her, hey, this is going to be your life. If you sign up for this, this is what you're going to have to deal with. And these stand-ups start coming out of her. And at first, of course, it's Killer Moth and Firefly, the criminals she's with. Mm-hmm. And she's like, and if you don't walk away, then this is your future. And it's like the whole Batman rogues gallery around her. We get a Riddler and Catwoman cameo, woot woot. And she's fighting all of these like animatrons and beating their asses, you know. A for effort. Killer fucking Clayface, Two-Face, Poison Ivy, Mr. Freeze. Even when Joker pops up. And she's like, if this is my future, I'm not afraid of it. And kicks Joker right in his stupid Joker chin. Like, good for you, lady. And Batman is like, all right, Alfred, bring up the lights. And she's like, Alfred? And this is when Batman surprised the shit out of me. He reveals the whole thing. He reveals the identity, and Barbara's like, and then it all makes sense. The expensive toys, the time and devotion, the reason. And it's Bruce Wayne without his mask standing over his parents' grave. And that is where he asks her to swear an oath to uphold the ideals of the Batman, the bat symbol.
Yeah, if you're going to be wearing it and I can't stop you.
Yeah, at least promise me you won't kill criminals. You'll do truth, justice, the American blah, blah, blah. It's still Superman's lines here.
Truth, justice, and the American way.
Poor Robin. Oh, man. So now they've got to get Gordon off the case. They can't have Gordon suspecting his daughter being Batgirl. And who has to stand in for Batgirl on the roof when Batman introduces Gordon to his new sidekick? Robin.
That's what you get for fucking kissing her without asking, bitch.
I thought she liked me. It's the saddest little scene of Robin dressed as Batgirl, like, with his head down.
I'm sure she likes you well enough, dude.
Yeah. And Gordon's getting ready to tell him no. He's like, Batman, like, 2 I'll accept. You, Robin, fine. I can't accept anymore. But right at that moment, Barbara shows up. He's like, oh, well, if it's not my daughter, I guess I can accept one more.
Fine, it's not my kid.
Yeah. We get a scene of Jason Bard opening up a private investigation center. Jason Bard actually will show up in the comics again, private detective and doing other stuff. No spoilers, but he's opening a detective agency, and Barbara Gordon's talking about maybe running for public office. She hasn't decided yet. But the very last scene is like, for now, I'm not worried about it. I'm enjoying being Batgirl at the moment. I don't see myself being Batgirl forever, but for now, this is what I'm enjoying. And last scene is her on a roof fighting Scarecrow. And that is the end of Batgirl Year One.
The thing I like about Barbara is the same thing that I really liked about Rose Tyler. Mm-hmm. She sees an impossible situation with horrible odds, and she does her best anyways.
Yeah.
I love that shit. Like, that is the easiest way to get me on a character's side. Is do that shit. And I really appreciate how she uses what people expect of her against them. She goes along with all the flirting to get whatever she needs from each person as she goes. Like, I enjoyed that she uses people's underestimation of her in that way.
I am so glad you're saying that, because that is kind of the big question. What do people underestimate about you, Cecilia Rose?
Ooh.
Yes. And if you would like to add on to it, like, how do you use that to destroy them? But
I am not giving out trade secrets on the internet.
This is just between us, so don't tell anyone, listeners. There, problem solved.
Yeah.
You know.
How do people underestimate?
The people listening to our podcast only have our best interest at heart.
Oh yeah, I'm sure no one who listens to this would ever use it against us.
No one listens to us.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a big question.
It is a big question. You're very aptly named.
Yes, I'm trying to think of what, because even though it's my question, I also do not have an answer. I think maybe people. I think people underestimate my. This is gonna be a weird one, but I think people underestimate my mental problems because I'm really good at hiding them. And I do think I haven't figured out any way to use that to my advantage yet. And maybe it's not a thing that I ever will be able to turn into something to my advantage. But I think because mental problems in general are kind of the silent killer. Like they aren't respected. They aren't considered. If you call in sick to work because you're too sad to get out of bed, your work will look down on you for that. Whereas if you have the flu, it's no problem. And I don't know if that's because I don't know where that stigma comes from, except that I guess mental disorders are hard to.
Well, and it's also viewed as a weakness, as a sign of weakness, as opposed to because everything is awful and the world is hard.
Yeah.
As opposed to mental illness being a symptom of I blame Reagan.
All of his shutting down the asylums in the 80s definitely hurt this, like...
It's something that people don't understand. It's definitely hurt treatment.
Yeah.
It's something people don't understand, and it is something where it's viewed as a personal failing as opposed to... Because we don't understand it.
Yeah.
A thing we know how to help.
Or it's a thing that everyone, quote-unquote, has. Like if you're like... I'm depressed, or it's still, well, you should take a walk, and also it doesn't help not to throw your everyone's favorite government hated app under the bus, but you have so many people on TikTok talking about like mental disorders in ways that are not healthy or correct, like a 30-second video where they're like, "Hey, you might be manic depressive if." Cue funky music and people pointing at different parts of the screen while things come up like sometimes you're sad and you don't want to go grocery shopping, and you're like, yeah, that's helping promote mental health, like fucking like Jesus fucking Christ. Oh, I hate that shit. Anyway, yeah, that would be mine.
So I think this is a fun question.
No, thank you.
I'm trying to I think that people make assumptions, and this isn't something that I think this might be more on purpose in my part, but I have a tendency, especially in a lot of places, to be rather quiet. Mm-hmm. It's sort of a defense mechanism more than a lot of things, because I do like to talk once you get me on something that I enjoy talking about. Like,
hadn't noticed?
No, you wouldn't. We didn't spend 3 hours talking about semantic error or anything.
I have no memory of this.
But I think that is a way that lets people underestimate me a lot, because a lot of people, and this especially was true in high school, you can get away with a lot of shit just by keeping your mouth shut. And I definitely use that, and I will not say how, because I don't know who listens to this, and I don't trust any
No need
fools.
to confess.
But yeah, like people, you can get away with a lot of shit just by keeping your goddamn mouth shut.
Yeah.
And I definitely...
Batman villains, I hope you're listening.
I definitely won't say how I use that, but I definitely do that. Yeah.
It is ironic that the comic book character I most idolize is his whole gimmick is the opposite of that. It's not keeping his fucking mouth shut.
Here's the thing, and this is the thing. This is so to hammer this home. Actually, I was listening. I don't remember which podcast. It might have been Wine and Crime. But one of these podcasts... No, I don't even remember. Anyways, the point of the story was that this couple stole like $1 million, like a very expensive, very famous painting.
Yeah.
And no one found it until after they both died.
Yeah.
Because they kept it in their bedroom behind the door so that you could only see it when the door was shut when they were by themselves.
Yeah.
That is how you get away with shit. Mm-hmm. You keep your fucking mouth shut.
Oh yeah.
And I feel like it's a good word of advice just in general.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would want, if I were going to be someone
maybe we should change our podcast moniker to Be Quiet, Do Crimes.
But I feel like if I were going to be committing crimes, and if it weren't a crime of extreme duress or passion, like, if someone hurts my children, I'm not worried about getting away with that crime. Right. I fully want to get caught. You can do whatever you need to do to me after I seek my vengeance.
Yeah.
But a majority of the time, if I'm going to commit a crime, I'm going to want to not pay for it.
Sensible.
So you'd want to just be unassuming.
Yeah. That checks out.
Yeah.
And more people take that advice, folks. Yeah. Well, great answer. And hats off to me. Great big question.
It was a good question.
One last thing. Batgirl Year One. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I obviously give it a thumbs up.
I liked Batgirl. Excellent. I enjoyed Barbara. It was a fun story. It was interesting.
I think we'll come back to her at some future junction when I find another story by her with writers that I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I also big fan of Batgirl. Whether she's Batgirl, Oracle, or Batgirl again.
I really enjoyed her in Catwoman too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like she's such a good character. She's just a fun character. Even Riddler had a crush on her at one point. Like, she's a good character.
Again, I actually read her. I can see how.
Yeah.
Like she's a character with depth that and like I said before, she's someone who has more nuance than Batman. Like, she sees things with more shades of gray.
Yeah. Well, I dare say she's smarter.
Oh, yeah.
Especially by the time she has fully embraced her Oracle persona. I would say she's smarter than fucking Batman, smarter than Dick, smarter than most of...
Which explains why her and Dick don't work out.
People. I think you can date people stupider than you. I have to, being the smartest person on the planet. It's hard, but somehow... I know, right? So, in 2 weeks, we'll be back here. And why? Cecilia, why are we coming back?
Because I'm introducing you to the Omegaverse. And
we will be... Omegaverse.
Yeah.
Talk to
me. We will be reading Volume 1 of Hate Me, But Let Me Stay.
One of Hate Me, But Let Me Stay.
Yes.
All right.
And thank God that is the English title, because I could not even pretend to pronounce the Japanese one. But it will be a recent release at the point in time where we cover it.
Nice.
And it will have dropped on Crunchyroll, the official English translation. Cool. Which may or may not be where we read it from. You'll never know, because I'm not admitting to crimes on the internet.
Fair enough. This one might just have a description and not a link. This will be the first.
No, you can link to the Crunchyroll store, because by the time the episode drops,
never mind then. It'll have a link in the Crunchyroll store.
It'll be around the time that the Crunchyroll stops.
Yeah, look at us being timely. So, Volume 1 of Hate Me, But Let Me Stay, part of the Omegaverse. What is the Omegaverse? I don't know what the Omegaverse is.
You know what? I'm not going to tell you, because it's going to be a shorter episode. Right. We will discuss that.
Fair enough. In 2 weeks.
The episode. Yeah.
All right.
So, enjoy.
Well, until then,
be your own ally.
Be your own ally. Leave comments, likes, stuff like that. All sorts of great information in the show notes, including links to talk to us via all the social medias, such as Blue Sky, Facebook, etc., and even a Patreon if you like what you hear and would like to help us do more of it. Until then, to steal something from Even More News, we love you very much. And thank you so much for listening. We appreciate your ears.
Yes, 100%.
2 weeks, we'll try and earn them again. Till then,
bye-bye.